I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, writing some long-ass story about betrayal and heartbreak, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 8 years now. We got married young, had some good times, and I genuinely thought we had a solid, stable relationship. She's always been a bit of a bitch, quick to lie, quick to dismiss things she didn't want to deal with, but I overlooked it because she's also beautiful, charming, and, yeah, pretty damn good at hiding her worst side. Still, I trusted her. Or at least I thought I did. Lately, though, I've been noticing little things. She started coming home later than usual, saying she was working late or meeting up with some friends I'd never even heard of. Her phone's been glued to her hand more than usual, texting or scrolling through social media at all hours. She also got weirdly defensive when I asked about her day or who she was talking to. And her attitude. It was colder, bitchier, snapping at me over small stuff, dismissing my feelings like they didn't matter. That's when I first started feeling uneasy, like I was losing my wife to some stranger. Then came the moment that shattered everything. I was sitting at my desk, working on some project, when I noticed an email notification pop up on my computer. I wasn't snooping, I swear, but the email was from Emily's school email account, and it was a letter of recommendation she was writing for some college application. The thing was, it was addressed to her professor, a guy named Dr. Carter. I knew him vaguely, a middle-aged guy she'd been seeing for tutoring, but I never imagined they'd actually have an affair. What caught my eye wasn't just the letter itself, but what was in the email thread attached. It was her talking to him about their meetings, about their plans, and worse, about how she couldn't wait to see him again, and to finally have some real sex. I didn't even realize I was staring at it until my stomach clenched. My first instinct was to go cold. I mean, this was my wife, cheating on me with some professor I'd known for years. It hit me like a freight train. How could she do this? How could she be so fucking lying, so blatantly betraying me after all the crap we went through? I felt like I was punched in the gut. My mind raced with questions. How long has this been going on? Did she ever love me? Was I just some kind of placeholder? I couldn't believe she'd been sneaking around, lying and cheating on me while I busted my ass working to give us a decent life. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the fact that she lied so blatantly, so poorly, right in front of my face. I sat there for what felt like forever, staring at the screen, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach every time I thought about it. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't even know where to start. I was just stunned and angry, furious. I wanted to tear her apart, but I also wanted answers, real answers. The next day, I couldn't focus on anything. My mind kept circling back to that email, that thread. I kept thinking about the way she lied, the way she'd been sneaking around behind my back all this time. I felt betrayed, like I'd been played for a fool. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew I had to be careful. Emily's the kind of woman who's good at twisting things, making herself the victim and turning every conversation into a fight. Still, I couldn't just sit around pretending everything was okay. That evening, I decided I'd had enough. I wanted her to tell me the truth, and I was ready for whatever she'd throw at me. I waited until she came home, her heels clicking on the floor, and I just looked at her. She knew something was off. Her eyes darted around, trying to gauge my mood, but I didn't say anything right away. I just held up my phone and showed her the email thread. I watched her face harden, her eyes narrowing. For a second, she looked like she was about to lie her way out of it, but I cut her off. "So, Emily, care to explain what the hell this is?" I asked, voice low but firm. Her face went pale, then she started with the usual bullshit. "It's not what it looks like, Mark. That's just some stupid email. He's my professor." "Yes, but we're not. I mean, I was just helping him write a recommendation. That's all, it's all innocent." I didn't buy it, not even close. I knew about her lying, about how she always had a fake answer ready. I could see right through her, and I was furious. I told her I knew everything, about the affair, about her cheating, about her sneaking around. That's when the bitch came out. She started screaming, calling me insecure, accusing me of not trusting her, saying I was just jealous because she was better than me at everything, that her cheating was somehow my fault. She denied everything, called me paranoid, told me I was overreacting. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she be so calm, so dismissive after I just laid out her entire betrayal? I'd never seen her like that, so cold, so bitchy, so manipulative. It was like she actually thought she could dismiss the truth and go back to how things were. But I wasn't stupid. I knew she was lying, gaslighting me, trying to make me doubt myself. I felt this strange mixture of sadness, rage, and disappointment. This wasn't the woman I married. She was a stranger now, someone I barely recognized. In that moment, I realized I was at a crossroads. I could keep chasing after her, trying to get some kind of apology or explanation, or I could just walk away. The anger inside me was boiling over, but beneath it all was a deep, aching hurt. I never thought I'd be the guy who'd catch his wife cheating and then argue about it. I thought we had honesty, trust, some kind of respect. But she shattered all of that in one stupid email. I remember standing there, staring at her, feeling everything I had built with her crumbling piece by piece. And I knew then and there that this wasn't going to end well. After that confrontation, everything changed. I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, was gone, replaced by someone who'd lied and cheated and dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. I needed space, time to think, but I also knew I had to act. My head was a tornado of anger, sadness, and betrayal. I couldn't just pretend everything was fine, not anymore. The next few days were a blur. I stayed quiet, trying to process what I'd seen, what I'd felt. Every time I looked at her, I saw the lies, the sneaking around, the way she thought she could get away with it. I started noticing little things. Her phone always kept close, her attitude even more bitchy and dismissive. She'd snap at me over nothing, like I was a bother just for asking about her day. It was like she was already preparing to justify everything, to spin it into some sort of victimhood. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I knew she was cheating, I had proof. One night I decided to check her phone again. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist. I wanted to know if she was still lying, still hiding. I found a bunch of texts with Dr. Carter, some flirtatious, some downright explicit. She was talking about their plans, about meeting up, about finally having sex, just like in that email thread. It was like I was slapped with a wet towel. The betrayal hit harder than ever. I felt sick. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies. I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. The fight was coming and I was going to face her head on. I decided I'd confront her again, but this time with everything I had. I wanted her to admit it, no more lies, no more bullshit. I was done being the fool who believed her fake apologies. I wanted her to know I wasn't going to be played anymore. The next evening, I sat her down again. I told her I knew everything about her affair, about her plans with Dr. Carter, about her lies. Her face twisted into a mask of defiance, but I saw the flicker of guilt behind her eyes. She tried to deny it, to tell me it was all a mistake, that she never meant to hurt me. She said I was overreacting, that I was just insecure and jealous. She called me clingy and paranoid, like I was the crazy one. But I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I was past caring. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her that I was done. I told her she had to leave, that I didn't want to see her lying or sneaking around anymore. Her reaction: oh, she got bitchy fast. Started crying, then yelling, then calling me names. She said I was controlling, that I was the one who ruined everything. Told me I was overreacting because I couldn't handle her having a little fun. That she deserved better than a guy who couldn't trust her. I looked at her and thought about all the years of us, the good times, the bad times, the plans we made, and felt this deep, aching emptiness. Were we ever really happy? Or was I just fooling myself? I realized that I'd been blinded for years, but now I saw her for who she really was. A manipulative, lying, bitchy woman who'd cheat and lie, and then try to turn things around on me when I finally found out. That night, she left. I watched her walk out the door, her high heels clicking on the floor, and I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with heartbreak. I didn't want to believe it was over, but I knew deep down I couldn't stay with someone who'd betray me like that. I'd given her enough chances, enough years. The pain of losing her was intense, but I also felt a tiny flicker of freedom. Like a weight had been lifted. I knew I'd have to figure out what to do next, but at least I finally saw her true colors. And that's what matters, knowing the truth, no matter how much it hurts. The days that followed were the worst I've ever experienced. I thought I'd be angry, maybe even relieved, but mostly I felt empty, like someone had taken a big chunk of my life and just ripped it out. I kept replaying everything: the lies, the betrayal, her bitchy responses when I confronted her. It was like she'd been this perfect mask that suddenly shattered, revealing the real, manipulative woman underneath. Honestly, I'd never been so hurt, so angry, so betrayed in my entire life. I spent a lot of time alone, trying to make sense of everything. I was angry at her for cheating, at myself for trusting her so blindly, and at the universe for letting this happen. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I not see that she was already checked out, already planning her escape? It was like I'd been blind and now I was paying the price. And what hurt most was knowing she'd lied for so long about everything. About where she was, who she was, with her feelings. She'd been so good at hiding it, I almost felt stupid for not noticing sooner. One thing became clear: I couldn't keep living in this lie. I decided I needed to find a way to get her out of my life for good. Not just physically, but emotionally too. I knew I had to cut ties, put some distance between us, or I'd never heal. So I started making plans, getting my own place, talking to a lawyer about dividing everything, preparing myself for the inevitable. It was hard, damn hard. I never thought I'd be the guy who'd get betrayed like this and be left to pick up the pieces. But I also knew I had to do it. For myself. While all this was happening, I also started thinking about what I'd say to her if I ever saw her again. I realized I'd never trust her again, not fully, and I'd never be able to forget what she did. The fact that she lied so easily, so convincingly, made me question everything. How could I have been so blind? I thought we had honesty, but it was just a facade. Now I was facing the ugly truth. Emily was a liar, a cheater, and she'd played me for a fool for years. That realization was the heaviest weight I'd ever carried, but it also lit a fire inside me. I was done being the victim. I was going to rebuild somehow. I didn't know how yet, but I knew I'd survive this mess. I also started seeing a counselor. Not because I was weak, but because I needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't just tell me what I wanted to hear. I needed clarity, strength, and a plan. Sitting in that room, pouring out everything: the betrayal, the anger, the heartbreak, I finally allowed myself to feel everything fully. It was eye-opening. I realized I'd been suppressing so much of the pain, pretending I was okay, but I was not even close. The counselor helped me see that I deserved better, that I wasn't at fault for her cheating, and most importantly, that I had the strength to move on. One night, I sat on my new couch, staring at the empty space where Emily used to sit. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I'd lost someone I loved, but I also gained clarity. I knew I'd never trust her again, and that I'd have to build a new life without her. It's not easy, and there are days when I feel like I'm falling apart inside, but I also feel like I'm starting to breathe again. Like I've finally taken control of what's left of my life. The pain still lingers, but I know it won't last forever. If anything, it's pushed me to be stronger, wiser, and more cautious about who I let into my life from now on. I realize now that some betrayals cut so deep, they change you forever. But I also believe I can come out of this, somehow, better than before. Now, looking back, I realize that the most surprising thing about all this is how quickly everything changed. One moment, I was living a normal, somewhat happy life with Emily. The next, I was staring at proof that shattered every illusion I'd ever had about her, about us. I thought I knew her. I thought I knew what marriage meant. But betrayal like this, it hits you like a freight train and it shatters your sense of security. Suddenly, every little thing she did, her late nights, her hidden phone, her bitchy attitude, makes so much more sense. She had been hiding a whole other life. Honestly, I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated, so furious. But amidst all that chaos, I also found something else: a strange sort of clarity. I realized I'd been making excuses for her, dismissing the signs because I didn't want to believe the worst. I kept telling myself she'd never cheat, that maybe she was just stressed or busy. But deep down, I knew the truth. I just refused to see it until I had no choice. The email thread was the wake-up call I needed. It wasn't just a slip-up. It was her revealing who she truly was. That realization brought a strange mixture of relief and anger. I was angry at her, yeah, but I was also angry at myself for being naive. I should have seen the signs. I should have known better. But I also knew that dwelling on what I missed wouldn't do any good now. What mattered was what I was going to do next. I decided I had to take control and start rebuilding my life one step at a time. It wasn't going to be easy, and I knew I'd have to face a lot of pain, but I was done being a victim. I was tired of her lies, tired of feeling like I was walking on eggshells. So I started focusing on myself. I went out more, hung out with friends, and threw myself into work. I also made a promise to myself. No more lies, no more hiding. If I ever found myself in a relationship again, it would be built on honesty, no matter how painful the truth might be. I also cut off contact with Emily after she left. She tried to reach out a few times, but honestly, I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. I knew that, at least for now, I needed space to breathe and heal. Some days are still really tough. I have moments when I feel like I'll never trust anyone again, that I'll be alone forever. But then I remind myself that I'm still here, still standing. That the betrayal doesn't define me. It's just something I went through. I learned a lot about trust, about myself, about how some people can turn out to be complete strangers in disguise. And I know now that I deserve better. I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me. The pain still lingers, but I'm slowly moving forward. That's the only way to survive, one step at a time, no matter how much it hurts. Looking back, I realize that this whole experience has changed me in ways I never expected. At first, I was just angry, devastated even, questioning everything I thought I knew about love and trust. But over time, I've come to see it as a brutal lesson, one that I hope nobody else ever has to learn the hard way. Betrayal cuts deep, and it's easy to feel like you're lost in the darkness, but there's always a way out, even if it's slow and painful. The biggest thing I've learned is that honesty is everything. Without it, there's nothing left to hold on to. Emily lied, she cheated, and she tried to manipulate her way out of it, but in the end, her lies could. Hold up. I found my strength in the truth. I accepted that some people just aren't meant to stay in your life, and that's okay. Sometimes walking away is the best choice you can make, not because you're weak, but because you respect yourself enough to know when enough is enough. I've also learned that you have to prioritize your own well-being. I spent so long trying to save what I thought was my marriage, but in reality, I was only delaying my healing. Now I focus on rebuilding a life that's honest and authentic. I'm not perfect, and I still have bad days, the loneliness, the memories, the wounds, but I remind myself that I'm stronger than the pain, that I'm worthy of love and respect, and that I deserve someone who won't lie and cheat behind my back. Most importantly, I want anyone reading this to know that if you're going through something like I did, it's okay to feel broken at first. It's okay to cry, to be furious, to feel like the sky is falling. But don't stay stuck there. Take control. Seek help if you need it. Focus on yourself, because in the end, your happiness isn't dependent on someone else's lies or betrayal. It's something you build yourself, one honest step at a time. And trust me, no matter how much it hurts, you will heal. You will come out the other side stronger, wiser, and ready for whatever life throws at you. So yeah, that's my story. Betrayal, heartbreak, and finally redemption. Not the fairy tale I'd hoped for, but real, raw, and mine. And I hope anyone else dealing with betrayal finds the strength to carry on, because the pain doesn't last forever. The only thing that matters is that you keep going, even when it feels impossible. That's how you heal. That's how you move on.